Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 20 favorite knives released in 2022. Now these are going to be folding knives. They can be anything from production to mid-tech. They can even be in prototype form as long as they were released after January 1st of 2022. I am going to be excluding custom knives from this list for obvious reasons, but this list is not limited to knives that are inexpensive or budget friendly. It's also not limited to knives based on their availability. So expect to see knives that are expensive, expect to see knives that are not necessarily readily available, but some of this stuff definitely is. This list is also not meant to please the community or any specific population within the community. It's just my favorite because it's my favorite, right? Towards the end of the year, I will absolutely do a best of the best and add context and sort of give awards to, you know, this knife is the best in this class, this knife is the best in this class, etc. Right? But for today, it's just my top 20 favorites because they're my favorites and not necessarily because they make the most utilitarian and economic cutting tool. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I'm going to be linking this stuff right down below if it is available. I'm going to be moving super fast today because this is a long list. If you want to check out my individual reviews of any of these knives, you can definitely check out my channel. All right, let's go ahead and start off here with the first knife, and that's going to be the Null Voodoo. Holy moly, this is excellent. The ergonomic lines on this thing are amazing, and this is, you know, I didn't think that he was going to do better than his Thor design, but the Voodoo is incredible. Those of you who pre-ordered it, you're going to be really, really happy with this one. Made by Reich, if I'm not mistaken, and I think the pre-order prices came in somewhere in the mid to high $300 area. $350 to $375 was the base price. Very cool. Moving on here to one that I actually have in my possession. That's going to be the Reich Lamella. This thing looks like an integral knife, but it's actually two pieces of titanium that sheathe into each other, which is not something that I have seen before. The curvature, the sort of S-shaped curvature, is not an aesthetic I normally go for, but it's so beautiful and so flowy. Truthfully, there's just a lot of really, really futuristic design elements here that are mind-blowing. This is M390 titanium. We have a recessed titanium liner lock. I figured these things were going to come in at $500 or $600, but I think they came in once again in the mid 300s. Very cool. Here's one that is wildly expensive, a production knife, and one that is no longer available at all, but it's still one of my favorites. That's going to be the Shirogorov RJ Martin Soft Overkill. Wow, M398 and a factory mirror polished edge, titanium liners. I mean, everything that you would expect from a Shirogorov, just over the top, amazing execution and quality. These came in 3 different colors of micarta. But all, you know, all the blades were the same. And then you got either the blue with the black, or I forget if it was like the bronze with something else. I don't know. You can check out the different colors. There was red, natural, and black micarta. This is, of course, you know, the next version after the original frame lock version of this knife. These came in at, brace yourself, $1,700. But don't worry, they can't hurt you anymore because they're all sold out. Let's go ahead and move on to something that's absolutely ridiculous. Coming in at number 4, this is the PMP Alpha Beast, and it should definitely set the tone for the types of knives on this list. Once again, it does not necessarily have to be utilitarian or even convenient to make it into my favorites list. I am definitely a knife enthusiast, which means I enjoy the weird and the wacky, even if it doesn't make any sense. And let me tell you, the PMP Alpha Beast makes very little sense as a cutting tool. But oh my gosh, is it fun. This thing weighs about a pound. D2 steel and titanium. They even made 5 in Damasteel. I've got one, it's over there. But today I'm just showing off the regular one. These came in at, brace yourselves, $500. Really expensive. I'm not sure that that price tag was fully justified, but it doesn't really have to be the best value to make my favorites list. It's just, again, I just like it, right? Super smooth action, really fun. This is really more of a conversation piece than anything. It actually can cut. I've demonstrated that on the review if you want to watch it. Really nearly ½ inch blade stock, and also a 1/4 inch on the titanium. So really it's just PMP going, haha, look at this, you know, it's kind of funny. I don't think they intended for anybody to take it seriously, and I think it's pretty obvious, right? It's just one of those things that's fun. Congrats to the people that got their hands on these. These were limited. I don't think they're available anymore. Moving on here to number 5, and that's going to be the Microtech and Reich collaboration. That's the Annex. The original was, of course, a USA custom, extremely expensive. This version brought the price down to about $450, which is still expensive, but way less expensive than if it were actually made in the United States. Very nice, complicated grind. This is also an integral. It is one piece of titanium that was milled to become a knife handle. They've got carbon fiber here. Mine didn't come perfectly centered, and the carbon fiber wasn't the best, but everybody else says that theirs were perfect. In any case, this is still, despite mine having flaws, absolutely one of my favorite knives of 2022. Really cool that they actually got that into production form at a price that was not great for everybody, but definitely it made it more obtainable, right? Moving on here, here's one that's actually a budget knife. Thank God, Metal Complex. This is going to be the Vivi Chevalier. This guy comes in at, what, $72, something like that. 14C28N, and it's basically that button lock magic that we all came to love with the what was it? The ProTech Malibu, right? Except that these are wildly available and much less expensive. There's a lot of button lock budget knives out there, but I just like this one a little bit more because of the sheep's foot blade, because of the overall profile, right? Not the least expensive budget button lock out there, not the least expensive budget button lock on this list, but certainly one that is one of my favorites of 2022. Moving on here, actually, to another budget button lock knife, and that's going to be the CJRB Pyrite. This one in particular comes in steel, which I found that I actually really like. This is even smaller and more compact, and it actually has a powder steel on it, AR RPM 9, which is proprietary for CJRB and Artisan Cutlery. You can get these in G10 if you don't want the weight of the steel, but I gotta be honest, I kinda like it. And you know what? These things come in at like $52. It's really hard to argue. I mean, as somebody who regularly buys knives that cost over $1,000, I gotta admit, I just like this. It's just neat, right? I've far from lost my love for inexpensive knives, right? This is just really, really impressive. The overall quality, right? The convenience of everything, the grind of it is good, and the look of it is good too. Really, really enjoy that one. Let's go ahead and move on to something that's absolutely insane. At number 8, this is the Maxis Hephaestus. Holy crap, this thing is an absolute 18-wheel dump truck of a knife. This thing is ridiculous, but it is made just like all the ultra high-end, like the premium production knives, right? This thing is overbuilt, absolutely. I mean, if you want to define that as thick materials, check. If you want to define that as durability in the lock and just the overall robustness of the materials, check, double check. For people wanting to say, about the triad lock, is that stop right there. We actually have point of contact here. We have a secondary lock right here that prevents the frame lock from over traveling while it is engaged. We have a third area right here where you can pin the lock down, making it double reinforced and double unlikely to disengage. And then we have 2 gigantic external stops that contact both sides of the titanium. This thing has 2 additional points of contact over the triad lock and is massively more robust than 99.9% of Cold Steel's lineup, right? Now, it is equally unnecessary, but it is really, really cool. And it's a flipper running on bearings. Say what you will about the aesthetic, but the way that this is executed is unbelievably premium. This is an expensive knife. I think they start at $450, and, basically nobody needs this. It's not like we're like, oh, please, we need this durable of a knife for our day-to-day lives. No, basically nobody needs that, but it is very cool. It's very impressive, and, honestly, I couldn't find a single flaw with this thing. There is so much titanium. There's so much material in general. M390 recurve blade with different tones. We got hand rub satin, we got belt, machine belt, and then we've got like heavy lemon peel texturing or something in there. I mean, it's just wild. Absolutely insane. I don't want to spend any more time on that one. We got to keep moving here. Next up, breath of fresh air for some people. This is going to be the Wii and Windex Vision R. This is the production version, which is really cool because otherwise we'd be stuck with just the custom versions, which are unobtainable and very expensive. These are CPM 20 CV titanium, and they include the Super Lock, which is an ambidextrous lock that is very strong, very fidgety, very easy to manipulate. I was thinking about selling this when I got it, but then I realized, no, I want to keep this in my collection. Very convenient blade shape, very convenient profile. It's just a wonderful design. The only thing that I don't like so much is the pocket clip. I don't know if these are available. I'm hoping that they'll do more of them. I think they came in at about $270, but well worth it in my opinion. Here's a crazy one that I love just because it's crazy. At number 10, the Maxis Dragon. Holy crap, this is absolutely the most premium gas station looking knife in existence. I am sure that there are other really cheap knives that have a similar batwing or dragon wing blade. The main difference though is that those blades are absolute garbage and they're basically stamped out versus this, which is actually created in the most precision way imaginable. Every cutting bevel is exactly the same. Doing this correctly is unbelievably difficult, even if it's being done on a machine. This is one of the most insane and complicated grinds, right? It's real easy to crap one of these out and throw it in a display case at a gas station, and it's just kind of whatever, it's got an edge on it, right? It's another thing entirely to actually do it perfectly. Maxis is a ridiculous company. They're the only company that would dare to do something like this in production form, right? You look closely, we have orange peel textured titanium, we have a zirconium pivot, a Timascus pivot collar, and a Timascus pocket clip. This is ridiculous. M390 blade steel, by the way. Very expensive. I think these things came in just shy of $580, but you know, when you look closely, it's, again, I'm not saying everybody needs this, but it's hard for me to argue about this versus the competition. Not everybody values these traits, right? For some people, they're going to say, if it's not utilitarian, it's not worth it to me. Fine, but the amount of money it costs to actually make this is very, very high, even though it is being made in China. Doing this is expensive. I've never seen anything like this. I love this because it is wild. I don't care if it's not utilitarian. That's definitely not part of the criteria for this list. This thing is absolutely insane and definitely one of the coolest things to come out in 2022. Moving on, another Reich and Microtech collaboration, and that's going to be the Socom Bravo. Holy moly. Talk about a knife that would absolutely be ridiculously expensive if they were to do it in the USA. But they do. That's the Socom Elite. That's not the same thing though, really, right? The Socom Elite is made out of aluminum and is dramatically less complicated. This is a way more complicated knife, right? So while it did come in a little higher than what people think is its US counterpart, it isn't. The actual USA Socom Bravo is its counterpart, and that thing was well over $1,000 a long time ago, right? That the Socom Elite is just nowhere near as complicated. The only reason they could get it down to $350 is because Reich created this in China, which some people have a problem with, right? Whatever, right? Yeah, I'm the messenger. I'm just the guy reviewing the knives. I didn't make these. But I do love that I could actually get my hands on a Bravo. And this is not a clone. It's actually an authorized collaboration between Microtech and Reich. Love the blade, love the finish, love the titanium carbon fiber. I love the whole design of this. And I like mainly that I was actually able to get my hands on it. Beautifully smooth and definitely better executed than my Annex. And that's what makes me believe that, you know, people were right when they said, hey, you just got a goofball of an Annex, right? Same family. Really cool. I don't like that the lanyard hole is above the clip, but you know, what are you going to do? That's just the case sometimes. Really cool knife. Moving on here, we finally have one from the USA. I gotta be honest with you guys, this was not a great year for USA knives. There was a lot of good stuff, but great stuff? Not really. But, I gotta admit, the Brown FSD, which I'm classifying as mid-tech, you can call it custom if you want, I'm gonna call it mid-tech. The Brown FSD is absolutely one of the best knives of 2022. It's one of the best USA knives of 2022. And frankly, it's one of my favorite pocket knives ever. This thing is sick. It is actually not it's got a button that operates the lock, but it's not actually a button lock. It is a button-operated liner lock, and it operates flawlessly. You can also use the fuller to reverse flick it. They're doing minis right now as well. These are very expensive, $800. USA manufacturing is not cheap, especially when it is legitimate USA manufacturing. which Brown Knives absolutely is. These come in M390 or CPM 154. The only flaw with these things is if you're choking up on it like this, you can accidentally disengage the lock by putting too much force on that button, but you have to pretty deliberately do it. These things sell out so lightning fast, it is very frustrating to get your hands on them. And I mean that. As soon as he drops a batch of them, even if he drops 50 at a time, they're gone in seconds. And I mean that literally, not sarcastically. These things sell in seconds. So if you have one of these, congratulations, you're lucky. All you can do is follow him on Instagram and try to be part of the drops, part of his mailing list when they go out. Very cool. All right, moving on here. Let's talk about one that I don't have in hand. This is number 13, the Grambo Knives Rust. Now, I handled the prototype version of this, but minimal changes to the production form. And actually, these should be almost all the way in. I love the minimalist aesthetic of this, and I don't always like minimalist aesthetics. It just looks really good. The see-through hardware, the plain look of it just looks good with this knife. I also love that it is actually a frame lock that has a titanium overlay, making it so that no matter how hard you squeeze it, you're not changing the lockup percentage or geometry. You don't have to worry about where your fingers are when you're deploying it. It's just excellent. It's just straight up excellent. I love this. I think these came in well under $300. They're manufactured by Bestech, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I think people are going to be getting their hands on these fairly soon. Definitely one of my favorites of 2022. Moving on here, I like this one because it's just such a stupidly good value. Another one from Maxis, that's the Black Mirror. Holy crap, are you serious? They did this knife for $152. M390, stonewashed, high polished stonewashed blade, sheep's foot, very, very good blade geometry, excellent for cutting. We have the little opening hole there, titanium frame lock with marble carbon fiber inlays, milled titanium pocket clip, just everything that you want in a good, compact, premium EDC knife. They could have easily charged over $200 for this thing, just like every other company's doing. But you know what? They didn't. They asked $150 to $155. This is just excellent. That's it. That's the reason that I like it, right? The reason for me liking it is not always the same, right? Let's move on here to number 15. And that's going to be, of course, the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. This is not a custom. This is a production collaboration with Reich. If it looks different to you or weird, it's because this is the Knife Nuts podcast edition with the M398 hand rub satin finish Tanto. Standard versions came in M390 and had blue fat carbon. This has purple fat carbon, right? Whatever version you got, this is one of the most excellent front flippers. I mean, look at this. Look how well this is tuned. You can do this with my index finger. Beautiful. Brian Nadeau always does excellent work when it comes to blade to handle ratio. You're literally getting a 3.5 inch blade on a 7.75 inch knife, which is awesome. The handle profile is excellent. The chamfering is excellent. Ease of disengagement is excellent. I'm literally doing this with my left hand and I'm right hand dominant. The detent is tuned perfectly. The pocket clip is excellent. The inlay work is excellent. This knife is so freaking good. Holy crap, I love this knife. I'm actually getting tired because I'm talking too much. The Sharp by Design Mini Tempest, absolutely one of the best of 2022. Moving on here, if I'm still in order, which I really hope I am, it's going to be a budget knife. And of course, it's another button lock, which is really the only type of budget knife that's been impressing me this year. This is the Senco Crowley, which is probably the best value budget button lock on the market. This thing comes in at $45. This particular version is micarta and tumbled D2. This is fully flat ground, has thumb studs as well, right? But the thumb studs are out of the cutting path. The Saxy is also good, but I like this one a little bit more. You get more blade. You get a fully flat ground blade, so it's a little bit better at the edge. I thought they were about the same, but it's a little bit better at the edge. Ergonomics are a little bit better, a little more comfortable because of the length of the handle. You can choke up a little bit here, which is nice. Just really, really good. If you're on the fence about button locks or you don't want to spend too much money and get the wrong one, $45. This one is, it's not going to necessarily check every box for every single person, but it's almost perfect, really. I mean, this is all the more, knife anybody really ever needs. Coming from somebody who regularly spends over $1,000 on knives, as I said before, I still like just the pure utilitarian convenience and just the economic value. It's just a good value knife, right? It's why it's making it. Senco Crowley, absolutely amazing. Heavy contrast to that one. I like this one just because it's wild and I've definitely never seen anything like it. This is the Arcane Design and Elijah Isham Plexus. These, I believe, are sold out. They were pre-order, but oh my goodness. The action is wonderful. The design is, I mean, say what you will, again, about the aesthetic, right? But this is crazy. I mean, the lines here are just so cool. I really, really like the way everything flows together. I love this area right here where it opens up from the titanium frame into the blade. This is a compound tanto, but of course, Elijah Isham made a compound tanto, which is not an uncommon blade shape in this corner of the knife world. He took it and made something that looks completely and totally unique, and it transitions from blade to handle in one of the most satisfying ways ever. This is such a cool knife. They came in at $400, but you know what? There is $400 worth of knife here. Absolutely. The execution of this thing is just fantastic. It's perfect. And you know, it looks like it'd be a lot like holding onto an angry pine cone. It's actually fairly comfortable. I gotta admit, I mean, they took something that looks like a grenade with spikes on it, and it actually is pretty darn comfortable. I gotta hand it to them. This is definitely my favorite thing to come out of Arcane Design, and this was a match made in heaven. The design language absolutely came together to make something really, really cool. So happy to have this one on the list. That was number 17. Moving on here to number 18, one of the most ambitious projects of 2022. And that's going to be the Todd Begg and Artisan Cutlery War Junkie Citadel. Did anybody see this coming? I'm not asking like after you saw it was announced. I mean, could you have ever guessed that this was going to be the thing? This is based on a multi-$1,000 custom knife that is basically unobtainable. The original Citadel was absolutely crazy. Artisan Cutlery is the only reason that this thing came down to $450. Really high polished satin blade, definitely the highest polished blade I've ever seen come out of Artisan Cutlery. Carbon fiber inlays in the blade, an enormous amount of carbon fiber inlaid into the handle scales. This is a lot of titanium too. The blade stock comes in at, I think, 190 thousandths. Lots of titanium liner lock that's been anodized, milled titanium clip, titanium backspacer, nice polish on the titanium. Mine did not have perfect inlays, but I'm hearing that pretty much everybody else had a good experience with this knife. I wish that mine was perfect, and I was a little bit disappointed in it, but it's still one of the coolest things to come out of 2022. So, you know, for that reason, it's on this list. And, you know, even though mine has flaws, I still love it. The flipping action is awesome, and this is as close as I'm ever going to get to owning, you know, the actual Citadel. Really cool. I don't know if these are still available or not. If so, it sounds like most people are getting, you know, good quality from theirs. So I would say go for it. I mean, this is, if you're looking to spend $450 on a knife and you're wanting something really, really impressive, I think Artisan Cutlery did, you know, largely a pretty good job with this. All right, moving on here. What was that? That was number 18. Let's go ahead to number 19. I'm going to be real honest with you. I think this knife is ridiculously overpriced, but it doesn't have to be a good value to make this list. It just needs to be something that I really, really like. And I really, really like the Custom Knife Factory and Rotten Designs Evo 3.0. This thing is absolutely wicked, both in appearance and in terms of ergonomics and functionality. It has an insanely aggressive hollow grind on it. That edge is screaming sharp. It's one of the most comfortable knives that I have ever handled. And while it looks very stridery, if you actually put a strider up against this thing, you realize the only thing that's similar is really this area right here. Even the back end of the blade profile and things like that, they're quite a bit different. I mean, it's fair to say it looks like a Strider, but it's still absolutely doing its own thing. These came in at $650, which I think is hilarious. Obviously, there was a part of my subconscious that thought it was worth it because I paid for it. I paid the full price for this. But truthfully, it feels like a sub $500 knife. It's really, really nice, and the titanium is finished really, really well. Everything on mine, except for this one little mark in the blade, was perfect.
I love this thing, but I mean, you know, it's one of my favorite knives to just have, you know, and like the design of it is really, really cool. The execution of it is very good. It's just not, it just wasn't, you know, it's hard for me to say it wasn't worth $650 because they sold out, right? Obviously, people are willing to pay for it, but, you know, if we're going to compare with its competition and, you know, the sort of the parameters that I put it in the knife world, nah, this is, should have been like $475 to $500, maybe $450 to $500, something like that. Very cool. Definitely one of my favorites of 2022, though. And then finally, number 20, the final knife on the list. And that's going to be the Hinder XM18 automatic. Yeah, I couldn't believe that they did, you know, an auto XM18. I didn't see that coming. I also didn't expect them to do it in full titanium. The first of these were actually released to dealers just recently. A few of you actually got them from DLT Trading. So I'm sure that you'll be really happy with them. Initially, it felt a little sluggish on the firing action, but it did break in, firing harder, harder, harder. And truthfully, it fires quite a bit harder than all of the Protechs I have in my collection. Not quite as hard as like the Microtech Stitch, but very hard. Other than that, it is an XM18 made with the exact same quality. I was happy to see that it came in only $25 more than the standard manual XM18 3.5 inch with a titanium scale. The regular XM18 comes in at $425. You put a tie scale on that thing, there's no way around it. It's $625. These things are truly made in the USA. Everything except for the bearings, if I'm not mistaken, and the pivot. So yeah, that does get really, really pricey. These are made, you know, basically the same way mid-techs are. There's a lot of work involved with them. All right, that's going to be pretty much it. What's that? I missed one? Well, I missed a lot, right? You didn't put any Benchmades on this list. You didn't put any Spydercos on this list. Where's the buck knives? Where's the cold steel knives? Where's the case knife? Listen, there's a lot of stuff that I could have put on this list, right? If I made it a top 50, I'd make a few more people happy, but I'd just also infinitely anger a whole bunch of other people. So truthfully, whatever. This list was not made to appease anybody. These are my actual favorites, right? You came here, you clicked on this video, you wanted to find out what my favorites were. So it's for me, right? But I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, all right, that aside, right? Maybe you didn't like what Benchmade put out this year. And, you know, I'm still waiting. There's still a few months left. That's why I'm doing this in October. Maybe something from Benchmade or Spyderco, or we can only hope ZT, right? Maybe Cold Steel will put something out that I can put on this list and make it into the final video before the end of the year. But that being said, Metal Complex, there are a bunch of us who know that there's one being left off the list. Are you really not going to include it? Yeah, I'm going to include it. I know Brian Winters is sweating right now if he's watching this. That's going to be the Winter Blade Co. production factor. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I saved this one for last because it is truly, as of right now, far and away the most amazing thing to come out in 2022. And truthfully, it's one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen. I have 3,000 uploads on this channel, and I've been collecting knives and been an active member of the knife community, especially the enthusiast end for, you know, I would say 14 years now. I have never seen anything like this. This is a magnetically operated folding knife. And while it's not the first magnetically operating folding knife, it's definitely it's definitely the coolest design. Definitely the most convenient design. It's very EDC friendly, very easy to manipulate. The lock itself is very strong, right? It doesn't look like it would be comfortable to hang on to, but it actually is. The production versions were made by Bestech, and I would imagine those of you who pre-ordered these are actually going to get them very soon. It also has a very satisfying ting noise, which I can't actually show because I'd have to include the audio for the clip, and I'm talking right now, and that's what's important, right? Boy, this guy likes to hear himself talk. As of right now, the Winter Blade Co. Factor will probably be the best knife of 2022. It's going to take something pretty amazing to knock this thing out of the #1 spot. And a lot of these other knives are really, really cool, right? Nothing's even close to this right now, which is why I saved it for the very end. Everything else was in no particular order, but this one, yeah. Winter Blade Co. Factor is excellent. That's going to be pretty much it. I can't believe I managed to keep this under 30 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, you'll be able to find some of these down in the description if you want to check them out. please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.